Shadowkiss, Chapter 12. If you could have asked me 6 months ago, I could have said there was no way I could be happy to run into Mia Rinaldi at the royal court. She was a year younger than me and had held a guard against Lisa since fisherman year. A guard so big that Mia had gone to great extremes to make life miserable for us. She could done a good job. Jests and rough rumors about me had been a result of her efforts. But then Mia had gone with us to Spokane and had been captured by the Strigoi. And just like for Christian and Eve, that had changed everything. She could see the same horrors the rest of us had. In fact, she was the only one of my friends who had witnessed man's own death and me killing Strigoi. She had even saved my life then by using her water magic to temporarily down one of the Strigoi in the great Morai argument about whether or not they should learn to fight with the Guardians. She was firmly on the fighting side. I had not seen Mia in almost a month ever since Manson Funnel. In studying her, I felt like it has been a year. I had always thought Mia looked like a doll. She was short compared to most Morai had young, round-cheeked features. The fact that she could always curl her hair in a perfect ringlets had sort of reinforced that image. But today she had not gone to nearly that much trouble. Her golden blonde hair was pulled into a ponytail. It is only curl coming from a slight natural waviness. She wore no makeup and her face showed signs of having her outdoors a lot. Her skin looked chappier from the wind, and she had a very faint tan, almost unheard of for Morai, with their aversion to sunlight. For the first time ever, she actually looked her age. She laughed at my shock. Come on, it has not been that long. You look like you don't even recognize me. I almost don't. We hugged, and again it was hard to believe that she could once plotted a way to ruin my life or that I could broken her nose. What are you doing here? She beckoned us out the door. We were just about to leave. I will explain everything. We went to a neighboring building. It was not like a mall or anything, but it had a few business that the Morai who worked and witnessed here needed. A handful of restaurants, some small stores and offices that offered all sorts of services. There was also a coffee shop, and that was where Mia led us. A coffee shop seems like an ordinary thing, but I rarely go to them. Sitting in public place or semi-public with friends, not worrying about school, it was great. It reminded me of when Lisa and I had been on our own, when our entire lives had not been contained with the school and its rules. My dad works here now, she told us, and so now I live here. Moral children rarely lived with their parents. They were sent off to the place like Saint Waldemar's where they could grow up safely. What about school? I asked. There are not many kids here, but there are some. Most of them are rich and have personal tutors. My dad pulled some strings and set it up so that I can go to them for different subjects. So I'm still studying the same thing, just a different way. It is actually pretty cool. Less teacher's time, but more homework. You have been doing more than that, said Eid, unless your classes are outside. He noticed the same thing I had, and in looking at her hands as they held her laddie, I could now see calluses. She wiggled her fingers. I made friends with some of the guardians here. They have been showing me a few things. That is risky, said Christian, though he sounded like he approved. Since there is still a debate about Morai fighting. You mean about Morai fighting with magic? She corrected. That is word controversial. No one is really talking about Morai fighting hand to hand. Well, they are. I said it is just being overshadowed by the magic controversy. It is not illegal, she said primly, and until it is, I'm going to keep doing it. You think with all the events and meetings that go on around here that anyone can even notice what someone like me does? Mia family, in addition to being non-royal, was also pretty lower class. Not there were anything wrong with that, but she had to feel the efforts of that around here. Still, I found our old situation cheering. Mia seemed happier and more open than she had during the entire time I could known her. She seems free. Christian spoke my thoughts before I could. You have changed, he said. We all have changed, she corrected, especially you, Rose. I cannot quite explain it. I don't think there are any ways the Firefox could have changed. Christian pointed out. A moment later, he corrected himself. Four of us. We all felt silent. Thoughts of Manson waiting us down, being with Christian, Eid, and Mia stirred up that grief I always try to hide, and I could see from their faces that they continually fought the same battle. Conversation eventually turned towards all of us catching up on what had happened here and at the academic, yet I kept thinking about how Mia had said that I had changed more than others. All I could think about was how out of control I could felt lately. How half of the time my actions and feelings don't seem like my own. Sitting there, I almost seems like Mia was controlled by all her four positive traits now, and I was controlled by my negative ones. Conversation with Adrian relayed through my head, reminding me about how I supposedly had such a dark aurora. Maybe thinking about him summoned him, but he and Lisa eventually joined us. Their bar was probably in the same building. I realized I had been blocking her out and not paying much attention. Adrian had not completely gotten her drunk, thankfully, but she could agree to two drinks. I could feel her slight buzz through the bond and had to actually shield it out. She was surprised she could as we could be to see Mia, but gave her a warm welcome and wanted to catch up. I could hear it most of us already, so I just listened to it and drank my chai. No coffee for me. Most guardians drank in that way. Morai drank blood, but I could not touch the stuff. How 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 could your things with the queen go? Christian asked Lisa at one point. Not so bad, she said. I mean, not great either, but she don't yell at me or humiliate me, so that's a start. Stop being modest, said Arden, putting his arm around her. Princess Dragmarai totally stood her ground. You should have seen it. Lisa laughed. I don't suppose she mentioned why she decided to let us come to the trial. Christian asked stiffly. He don't look very happy about the bonding that was taking place here or about Adrian's arm. Lisa's laughter faded, but she was still smiling. Adrian did it. What? Christian and I asked together. Adrian, looking very pleased with himself, stayed quiet for a change and let Lisa do the talking. He convinced her that we needed to be here. He apparently harassed her until she gave in. It is called precision, not harassment. Arden said. Lisa laughed again. My own words about the queen came back to haunt me. Who is she? Just another Ashrock? Here are the tons of them. There were indeed eyed Arden. How closely are you guys related? The answer popped into my head from Lisa's. She is your aunt, great aunt, and I'm her favorite great nephew. Well, I'm her only great nephew, but that's not the point. I could still be her favorite, he said. Unbelievable, said Christian. I'll second that. I said, none of you appreciate me. Why it is so hard to believe that I could make a real contribution in these dark times? Adrian stood up. He was trying to sound outraged, but the smirk on his face indicated that he still found all of this pretty funny. My cigarettes and I are going outside. At least they show me respect. As soon as he left, Christian asked Lisa, were you getting drunk with him? I'm not drunk. I only had 2 drinks. She said, since when did you get all conservative? Since Adrian became a bad influence. Come on, he helped us get here. No one else was able to do it. He don't have to, but he did. And you and Rose are sitting there still acting like he's the most evil person on the planet? That was not exactly true. I was almost sitting there like I had been hit in the head. Still too drumstruck to react. Yeah, and I'm sure he did it out of kindness of his heart, muttered Christian. Why else could he do it? Hoagie, I wonder. Lisa's eyes wandered. You think he did it for me? You think there is something going on with us? You guys drink together, practice magic together, and go to allied events together. What could you think? Mia and Ed looked like they wanted to be somewhere else. I was starting to share the feeling. Anger burned through Lisa, hitting me like a wave of heat. She was utterly outraged. Her fury don't even have that much to do with Arden really. She was more upset at the thought of Christian not trusting her. And as for him, I needed to know psychopowers to understand how he is feeling. He was not jealous simply because she was hanging out with Adrian. Christian was still jealous that Adrian had the kind of influence to pull this off for her. It was just like what Jess and Ref had described about how the right connections could open the right doors. Connections that Christian don't have. I need Christian's luck, hoping he could get the hint that he really should stop talking about things got worse. Lisa's anger was intensifying, mirrored with embarrassment as she began to doubt herself and wonder if she had been getting too close to Adrian. The whole thing was ridiculous. Christian, for the love of God, if Adrian did this for me, it was because of me and his crazy obsession. He bragged a while ago that he could do it, and I don't believe it. I turned to Lisa. I needed to get her calm and diffuse those dark feelings it could cause so much trouble for her when they ran out of control. Liz, you might not be wasted exactly, but you need to chill out for an hour before having this conversation. You're going to say something as stupid as Christian, and I will be the one who has to deal with the mess, like always. I had gotten worked up and expected someone to tell me how bitchy I sounded. Instead, Lisa relaxed and offered Christian a smile. Yeah, we should definitely talk about this later. A lot's kind of happened today. He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, sorry, I jumped all over you. He returned her smile. Fight patched up. So, Lisa asked Mia, who have you met here? I started at them in amazement, but no one seems to notice. I could fixed their fight and there had been no acknowledgement. No thank you, Rose, for pointing out how idiotic we have been. It was bad enough I had to endure their romantic day after day with no consideration of how I felt. Now I was salvaging their relationship and they don't even realize it. I will be right back, I said, interrupting Mia's description of some of the other teenagers here. I was afraid. I sat there. I was going to say something I could regret or maybe break a chair. Where did this rage came from? I went outside, hoping a gulp of cold air could warm me down. Instead, I got a face full of cloud smoke. Don't start about the smoking, warned Adrian. He was leaning against the building bricks wall. You don't have to come outside. You know, I was here. That is actually why I'm here. Well, that, and I felt like I was going to go crazy if I stayed inside another minute. He titled his head to look at my face. His eyebrows shot up. You're not kidding, are you? What happened? You were fine a few minutes ago. I paced across the ground in front of him. I don't know. I was fine. Then Christian and Lisa started having this stupid argument over you. It was weird. They were the ones who were mad. And then I ended up madder than both of them. Wait, they are arguing over me? Yeah, I just said that. When are you paying attention? Hey, don't snap at me. I have not done anything to you. I crossed my arms over my chest. Christian is jealous because you hang out around Lisa so much. We are studying spirit, said Aaron. He is welcome to join him. Yeah, well, no one ever said love was reasonable. Seeing you come back together kind of set him off, and then he got upset because you pulled rank with the queen of for Lisa. I don't do it for her. I did it all for you, but well, you especially. I came to halt from her for in front of him. I don't believe you. They could do it. He grunted. Guess you should have listened to my family history in the dream, after all. I guess I just thought. I could not finish. I thought Drummond could be the one who came through for me. The one who, despite what he said, could make most anything happen, but he don't. Thought what? Adrian prompted. Nothing. With much effect, I managed to utter the next words. Thank you for helping us. Oh my god, he said, a kind word from Rose Hathaway. I can die a happy man. What are you saying? That I'm normally an ungrateful bitch? He just looked at me. Hey, not cool. Maybe you could redeem yourself with a hug. A glad. A small one? He begged. With a sign, I walked over and put an arm around Adrian, leaning my head slightly against his arm. Thanks, Adrian. We stood like that for a heartbeat. I felt none of the crazy electricity or connection I did with Drummond. But I had to admit that Lisa had been right about something. Adrian was annoying and arrogant at times, but he really was not the bastard I often had him out to be. The door was open and Lisa and the others stepped outside. They understandably looked surprised. But I don't care just then. Besides, they probably all thought I was pregnant with Adrian's love child. So what did it matter? I backed away. Heading out? I asked. Yeah, Mia got more important things to do than hang out with us, joked Christian. Hey, I just told my dad I could meet him. I will see you guys before I leave. She started to walk away, then abruptly turned around. God, I'm so out of it. She reached into her pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. This is the half the reason I found you guys. One of the court clerks wanted me to give this to you. Thanks. I said, puzzled. She headed off to see her dad. While the rest of us strolled back to the accommodations, I slowed my pace as I opened the note, wondering who in the world higher could want to connect me. Rose. I was so happy to hear about your arrival. I'm sure it will make tomorrow's proceeding that much entertaining. I could have been curious for quite some time about how Vizela is doing, and your romantic escape are always an amusing diversion. I cannot wait to share them in the courtroom tomorrow. Best, Veedy. Who is it from? Asked Eid, coming up from beside me. I hesitantly folded it up and shoved it in my pocket. No one. I replied. No one, indeed. Veedy, Victor, Doshwak.